presents Debate Preview 2020. A live, unrehearsed look at tonight's final debate between President Donald J. Trump and his Democratic Party challenger, Joe Biden. Here's your host, Hugh Hewitt.
Good evening, America. From inside the Beltway, I'm Hugh Hewitt, joined from Minnesota by our friend Ed Morrissey of hotair.com and townhall.com. Ed, would you tell our audience who Tony Bobulinski is?
Tony Bobulinski, Hugh, is the CEO of the former CEO, I should say, of Sinohawk Holdings, which was a venture between the Biden family and an outfit called CEFC China Energy. Now, this is a firm that went bankrupt and whose bankruptcy drew the attention of regulators here in the United States, including the United States Senate, because of its connections to the regime in Beijing. And Tony Bobulinski, being a partner in this, was one of the people mentioned in the email string that was reported by the New York Post. And
so earlier tonight,
because of that.
So earlier tonight, in case you missed it, listeners, Tony Bobulinski appeared in front of cameras to set the stage for the debate tonight. Here is his 7-minute statement and presser.
In various successful businesses, both in this country and abroad. I'm making this statement to set the record straight about the involvement of the Biden family, Vice President Biden, his brother Jim Biden, and his son Hunter Biden in dealings with the Chinese. I've heard Joe Biden say that he's never discussed business with Hunter. That is false. I have firsthand knowledge about this because I directly dealt with the Biden family, including Joe Biden. I have also heard that Vice President Biden said on Tuesday that Senator Ron Johnson, the chair of the Senate Homeland Security Committee, should be ashamed for suggesting that Biden family sought to profit from their name. Well, here are the facts I know, and everything I'm saying is corroborated by emails, WhatsApp chats, agreements, documents, and other evidence. And the American people can judge for themselves. I brought, I guess, for record, 3 phones that spanned the years 2015 through 2018. These phones have never been held by anybody else besides myself. I was told this past Sunday by somebody who was also involved in this matter that if I went public this information, it would bury all of us, man. The Bidens included. I have no wish to bury anyone. I've never been political. The few contributions I have made have been to Democrats. But what I am is a patriot and a veteran. To protect my family name and my business reputation, I need to ensure that the true facts are out there. In late 2015, I was approached by James Gilliar, whom I had known for many years, about joining him in a deal which he said would involve the Chinese state-owned enterprise CEFC China Energy and what he called one of the most prominent families in the United States. I was informed first by Gilliar and then by Hunter Biden and by Rob Walker, who was working with the Bidens, that the Bidens wanted to form a new entity with CFC, which was to invest in infrastructure, real estate, and technology in the U.S. and around the world. And the entity would initially be capitalized with $10 million and then grow to billions of dollars of investment capital. After months of discussion, I agreed at Gilliar and Hunter Biden's request to become CEO of the entity to be called Sinohawk. Sino representing the Chinese side, Hawk representing Hunter Biden's brother Bo's favorite animal. And between February and May 2017, we exchanged numerous emails, documents, and WhatsApp messages concerning Sinohawk and its potential business. On May 2nd, 2017, the night before Joe Biden was to appear at the Milken Conference, I was introduced to Joe Biden by Jim Biden and Hunter Biden. At my approximately hour-long meeting with Joe that night, we discussed the Biden's history, the Biden's family business plans with the Chinese, with which he was plainly familiar, at least at a high level. After that meeting, I had numerous communications with Hunter, Walker, Gilliar, and Jim Biden regarding the allocation of the equity ownership of Sinohawk. On May 13, 2017, I received an email concerning allocation of equity, which says 10% held by H for the big guy. In that email, there's no question that H stands for Hunter, big guy for his father, Joe Biden, and Jim for Jim Biden. In fact, Hunter often referred to his father as the big guy or my chairman. On numerous occasions, it was made clear to me that Joe Biden's involvement was not to be mentioned in writing, but only face-to-face. In fact, I was advised by Gillier and Walker that Hunter and Jim Biden were paranoid about keeping Joe Biden's involvement secret. I also had a disagreement with Hunter about the funds CFC was contributing to Sinohawk. Hunter wanted $5 million of those funds to go to himself and his family, so he wanted the funds wired directly to an entity affiliated with him. I objected because that was contrary to our written agreements concerning Sinohawk. He said, referring to the chairman, his father, that CFC was really investing in the Biden family, that he held the Trump card, and that he was the one putting his family legacy on the line. He also said to me on May 17th, 2017, that CFC wanted to be my partner, to be partner with the Bidens. During these negotiations, I repeated to Hunter and others that Sinohawk could not be Hunter's personal piggy bank. And I demanded that proper corporate governance procedures be implemented for capital distributions. Hunter became very upset with me. CFC through July 2017 was assuring me the funds would be transferred to Sinohawk, but they were never sent to our company. Instead, I found out from Senator Johnson's September report that the $5 million was sent in August 2017 to entities affiliated with Hunter. Tomorrow, I will be meeting with the Senate committee members concerning this matter, and I will be providing to the FBI the devices which contain the evidence corroborating what I have said. So I will not be taking any questions at this time.
Do you have any evidence that...
You will be taking questions?
I will not be taking questions at
Well,
this
we're going
time.
to ask them anyway. Can you tell us a little bit more about this evidence that you're giving to the FBI?
The evidence sits on these three phones. I don't want to go into anything any further. This will all be discussed with Senator Johnson and his committee, and the American people can decide.
So Ed Morrissey is just on NBC saying that they're not going to keep Tony Bobulinski out of this, no matter how much they try. And boy, oh boy, the MSM is trying to keep him out of this. And I just told them that's not going to work. How significant is this, do you think?
Very significant. I mean, this is the type of thing that they were trying to chase Trump after. I mean, this was even before he took office. They were talking about his connections to Russian front groups. You know, the whole 2013 Miss Universe contest was a big topic of discussion. I don't know if people are going to remember this, but 4 years ago, they were talking about his ties to Russians as part of, you know, this sort of risk that he was vulnerable to intelligence manipulation. The same thing is going to be true in this case, except in this case, the clandestine nature of what was going on is going to make that worse. You know, Trump was doing the beauty pageant. Everybody knew Trump was on stage. Everybody knew Trump was involved.
Now, I just got done saying to a national audience that he should be talking to Pennsylvania, Wisconsin tonight. Pennsylvania, Wisconsin.
Yes.
That is a very sort of super 30,000 foot view of this. He's got to win Pennsylvania to win re-election. He's got to have Wisconsin to win re-election. Does the president have message discipline to do that?
Well, let's hope so. I think what he really needs to do is he needs to take this opportunity, certainly to hit on Bobulinski. I mean, Bobulinski is supposed to be at the debate, but also to focus on his own message. Talk about the things that he's done well. You know, the Operation Warp Speed, which is just an amazing, amazing accomplishment once the vaccines arrive. Talk about how he made the economy so much better and how it's coming back now. He's got to talk about those things. Talk about foreign policy. Talk about what's going on in the Middle East. By reorienting American policy against Iran and in defense of the Arab nations, he is very close to achieving what no president has ever done, which is a comprehensive peace between Arabs and the Israelis.
1 minute, Ed. Do you think that the concern over COVID is falling or rising in the electorate? Do you think it's driving voters, or is voters putting that aside and have adapted to it?
I think there's some adaptation to this, right? We're several months into this. I think that it's still an important issue, but I think the economy is also an important issue. And those are the two things that he's going to have to address. One, he's on offense. The other one, he's a little bit more on defense, but he's going to have two good messages tonight, COVID and the economy.
Ed Morrissey from hotair.com, townhall.com. Thank you. We're coming back. Ed and I will be with you up to the debate and after on this Salem Radio Network special debate night, debate number 2 between the president and former Vice President Biden. Stay right where you are. We'll be back with Sebastian Gorka after this.
On the Salem Radio Network, the Commission on Presidential Debates has authorized use of a mute button during the actual debate. But here, again, without a mute button, is Hugh Hewitt.
Well, I'm not sure I don't have a mute button. Dwayne Patterson is producing this radio show. Usually does have a mute button for me. Ed Morrissey is co-hosting with me from Minnesota. We are joined by Dr. Sebastian Gorka inside the Beltway. Sebastian, never heard the name Bobulinski until about an hour and a half ago, but now the entire country knows it. What do you make of the entrance of Tony Bobulinski into the stage?
I think the Biden campaign is over. I think this is the end of it. When you have broken on my show today confirmation that a $5 million unsecured forgivable loan was provided by the Chinese to the Biden family, not to Hunter Biden, but the Biden family. And just moments ago, you have that press conference in which a Navy officer, a veteran who comes from a long line of a military family, say, I was Hunter Biden's partner. They threw me under the bus. The emails are real, and the big guy who got 50% of the equity deal, who got 10% of anything else, was the vice president. There's no way to recover from this. I'm sorry. Look, you are the CEO of a presidential library, but tell me if I'm wrong. We have never, ever seen this before in modern politics.
Now, Seb, I'll turn over to Ed for a question, but my question is, we know what the plan was if we believe Mr. Bobulinski. Was any money paid? Because there is no money on the income tax returns. The Biden campaign is pairing with the income tax returns. Was any money paid? Have you been able to find any documentation of money actually changing hands or just letters of intent and a paper trail?
I haven't, but I'm not the person who has the laptop. I've been invited by Mayor Giuliani last week. He was on my show, and he invited me and my team to go to New York to see the duplicates of the three hard drives that are in his possession. So, I'll leave that to the people who are writing the stories, who've seen them at the America's oldest newspaper, the New York Post, at Breitbart, Matt Boyle, Lee Smith, and others. They, John Solomon, they have the access to the documents, but it doesn't matter. We have a living witness who has handed himself in, is providing the documents to the Senate, has written a 600-word, very well-worded letter to say it's all true. The Biden family is not a political dynasty. The Biden family is a criminal cartel, and I was part of it.
Dr. Gorka, great talking with you tonight. I think what's really remarkable about Tony Bobulinski's story is how greedy this turned out to be. I mean, I think that if they had set this up in a quieter fashion, using some just rational controls and allowing Tony Bobulinski to run this thing for them, this would have gone very smoothly and nobody ever would have known anything about this. Instead, it sounds like Hunter Biden just wanted to get all the money for himself and basically threw Bobulinski under the bus and stiffed him on this. I think otherwise we don't hear about this.
Look, I've never gotten into shady deals with a communist government. I've never paid pay-for-play ever in my life. But if I were of that ilk, like Hunter Biden and the Biden clan, I wouldn't write emails in which I am divvying up the amounts of money that are being paid to me by a communist government's national bank and by a Chinese investment company. I wouldn't actually, because it's not hard to work out who H is. It's not hard to work out who J is. It's not hard to work out who the big guy is. And then to actually put in unencrypted emails that we are parking the money for the big guy. Look, I know he's a former drug addict. I know he was kicked out of the Navy for his drug habits. Maybe that's part and parcel. But I think this is indicative of just a rank hubris, an arrogance that will be the undoing of Joe Biden. This is no longer the Hunter Biden scandal. This is on the shoulders. This today, with the Bobulinski presser, has been laying at the feet of Joe Biden minutes before the second and final presidential debate.
Seb, I have to call you, throw a flag on optimism here. I'm a pessimist about this because I was talking with a submariner the other day about being under the Arctic ice when it was too thick to break through. And that just came across my mind because I think the ice may be too thick for this story to break through, even if there is money. If there isn't money, it's a very difficult story. Voters are not following it the way that you and I and Ed follow it. Do you think it breaks through and moves the needle?
I don't see how it can be ignored. I don't see how tomorrow morning the Wall Street Journal, the Washington Post, the New York Times, yes, the mainstream media has been in the tank for the Democrats, for Hillary, for Biden, and against the president for 4 years. But there's no way that there isn't coverage of this story come tomorrow morning. And yes, we've had 40 million votes already mailed in to the various polling stations or returned to the polling stations. But at the end of the day, this is too big a scandal for any media organ to ignore.
Well, I think part of the reason why this is going to break through, Dr. Gorka, is that there's been such a concerted effort to cover it up. I mean, the effort to cover it up has become so noticeable that they made it into a bigger story by trying to cover it up. Twitter, Facebook, NPR saying that we didn't want to waste people's time by reporting on a story about corruption at the highest levels of government. I mean, media reaction is almost creating this as a major story, even if it wasn't.
No, if you look at that vaunted letter from 50 national security quote-unquote professionals who were political appointees from the Obama administration or the Clinton years, they actually stated in that letter that this is redolent of a Russian disinformation operation. Okay, and what happens 48 hours later? Not only the FBI, but also the National Director of Intelligence, the man who is above all 17 federal intelligence agencies, the person who is the highest intelligence officer in the land, states there is no such intelligence. There is zero connection to Russia when it comes to Hunter Biden's laptop. And people like Adam Schiff or anybody else who state otherwise have not been briefed to that effect and are lying. So they've painted themselves into the corner. This is a trap of their own making.
1 minute, Seb. Is it the only thing the president talks about tonight, or does he talk about jobs and the economy coming back? Does he talk about the deal with the Abraham Accords, or does he just talk Tony Bobulinski, Tony Bobulinski, Tony Bobulinski? 30 seconds, my friend.
Look, Welker is a crazy anti-Trumper. There's a reason that she deleted her Twitter account after Steve Scully was fired. So she's going to act as if nothing happened and Tony Bobulinski doesn't exist. The president will play along for half an hour or 20 minutes, and then the hammer will fall, and Biden will not react well.
We will be back. Thank you, Sebastian Gorka. We will be back, America. Stay tuned to the Salem Radio Network pre-debate show with me, Hugh Hewitt, and Ed Morrissey. We'll be right back after this break.
Debate Preview 2020 continues now. And here, once again, is Hugh Hewitt.
Welcome back, America. Hugh Hewitt with Ed Morrissey. I'm inside the Beltway. Ed is in Minnesota. Ed, I am just curious if you are skeptical of Seb's confidence. I certainly don't think this story has reached critical mass yet. It's not the blue dress. It's not the DUI. It's a convoluted, difficult, impossible to pin down story that has not, as I check on my computer, broken through to the front page of any of the major newspapers yet, although Kim Strassel has written a column about it. What say you?
I think it's going to come up in the debate tonight. I think Donald Trump's going to force it into the debate if it doesn't come up, in order to get it onto the headlines. Now, it might be covered skeptically. NBC actually is covering this as an attempt to Pizzagate Biden. So they're talking about it. They're just talking about it very skeptically. I think that this does seep into the national media coverage, and it is going to be difficult for them to ignore it. They've tried for a week and they haven't been able to do it.
Here is the headline in the Washington Post. We've reached the Tony Bobulinski stage of the campaign, writes Philip Bump, who's a lefty. If the former business partner of your opponent's son can't turn your campaign around, what can? So we went from denying anything to recognizing there's something and mocking it, and in between it was Russian disinformation.
Right.
But I'm wondering, does that work?
Again, I think that there's a healthy skepticism that American voters have of anything that drops in the last 3 weeks of the campaign. And it might have been easier for this to seep in had this come in say, August or September, maybe after the conventions or just before. I don't know if anybody was even really in control of that timing. However, I think that when you have something drop 3 weeks out from Election Day, Americans are kind of used to October surprises by now, and so there's a natural skepticism to this. So I think what Philip Bump is saying, that might actually resonate a bit. However, when the details of this are actually spilling out onto the Wall Street Journal and in other places, in New York Post, it's very hard to write off this entire thing as just another October surprise, just another dirty trick.
Well, they're trying to say Joe Biden is dirty. Not only is Joe Biden dirty, he's dirty with communist money. Isn't that what they're trying to sell? If we boil it down, isn't that what they're trying to sell?
Well, it's certainly what they're going to be selling. The question is whether it's true. And if you've got this paper trail that Tony Bobulinski's got, at least all the way up to Hunter and Hunter mentioning Joe Biden and Jim Biden, then yeah, I think you may be trying to sell it, but it also just might end up selling itself, depending on what Bobulinski actually has.
If you are in charge of a major metropolitan newspaper tonight, what do you have the reporters chasing? I think you start with, who is Tony Bobulinski, right? Don't we start with who that guy is and where's he been and did he make any money ever?
I think you start with Tony Bobulinski. How did he get involved in this? What is CEFC energy? I'm very curious about this one particular question, Hugh, because if this was connected to the Beijing regime and they had the Bidens on the hook, why did this go bankrupt? Why did Beijing allow this company to collapse? It seems to me that that's a pretty valuable thing to have. And so I'm curious about what is CEFC? What did they ever do? How did Hunter Biden get involved with CEFC? Because that apparently is beyond dispute.
And the founder of CEFC is in jail now, somewhere in the murky prison system of the CCP. We're not going to get any evidence from him. I wrote an op-ed for the Post today, Ed, calling for a special counsel for this simple reason. No matter who wins, no one's going to believe the result of this story. Paul Manafort went to jail for his involvement with the Ukrainians, not registering as a foreign agent, not declaring his income, lying about it in the course of the investigation of the special counsel. No one's going to believe the Department of Justice if Biden wins and nothing happens. And everyone's going to believe that if Trump wins and there's a prosecution, that it's a revenge deal. Does that say special counsel to you?
As much as I'm reluctant on this, because I really dislike special counsels, I'd say yes. I'd love to see more limits put on a special counsel so that it doesn't turn into a roving prosecutor the way that it usually does. And as we saw with Mueller, who we all thought was going to be pretty rock solid, it's just turned into another one of these perjury trap, roving prosecutions, nail anybody that you can nail sort of thing in order to justify your existence. These are dangerous mechanisms. In this case, though, it's so tied up into the politics of both parties. I think you're right.
We'll be right back, America. Ed Morrissey and me, Hugh Hewitt. On debate night, we are 21 minutes away from Joe Biden and Donald Trump taking the stage. Stay tuned.
Welcome back to Debate Preview 2020 on the Salem Radio Network. The Commission on Presidential Debates has authorized use of a mute button during the actual debate. But here, again, without a mute button, is Hugh Hewitt.
Welcome back, America. Ed Morrissey joins me from Minnesota, and we are joined from, I don't know where Mike Gallagher is. He's toe-tapping down Broadway or something like that. Mike Gallagher, welcome. What do you make of this evening's events before the debate?
Yep, I'm on Wall Street right now, steps away from our Broadway studios. And Hugh, how many years have you been doing this?
30.
I guarantee you over those 3 decades, you've never expected a day like today. I was just talking to Dwayne off the air. Can you, I mean, really, Leslie Stahl, Tony Bobolinsky, all of this stuff happening today, and we're not even at the debate yet. I mean, we've never seen anything like this in the history of America. We've got a major platform called NPR that you and I and Ed helped fund. We all helped fund them. On record is saying they refuse to cover this Biden story. And it's not a story about Hunter Biden anymore. It's a story about Joe Biden, a man who might become the 46th president of the United States, who very well could be compromised by the Chinese. We all know it. Everybody knows it, including NPR, including Drudge, everybody. And between Facebook and Twitter and everybody refusing to cover this, it's astounding. I don't know if we have any comprehension of what the next few days are going to bring. I get the sense this isn't even the sum of the October surprises.
Well, 40 million people have voted, Mike Gallagher, and all of a sudden we have the Monica Lewinsky of 2020 as Tony Bobolinsky, and so we got Lewinsky and Bobolinsky. It's a lot of vowels for the American people to absorb. Are they going to change their mind for any reason whatsoever at this late date?
My sense is no, that minds are made up, that millions of people, as you said, have already voted. I've got friends all over the country who are standing in long lines today to vote. And of course, that's going to remain to be seen whether that was a huge mistake. The Republicans went along with all of the mail-in plans, and look at all the votes that were cast before we saw the totality of these incredibly bombshell stories. So, the historians in 50, 100 years aren't going to believe it, guys. They're not going to believe it. They're going to, this is all made up. There's no way. No way.
And Mike, this is Ed, and great talking with you.
Hey, Ed.
If you think that this isn't going to change minds, right, what will? What does Donald Trump have to do tonight to change minds, to get people to if nothing else, firm up their confidence in him and get out and cast votes for him?
I get the biggest kick out of all of us pundits telling Trump how he should do what he should do tonight, and he never does. I mean, the conventional wisdom says he backs off a little bit. Conventional wisdom says that he's, as Dwayne was saying, he's got a big hammer right now, and he swings it gently. But Trump will be Trump. He's going to do what he wants to do. He's reportedly agitated about the 60 Minutes thing. It was a stroke of brilliance to release the whole 37 minutes, and you saw how antagonistic Leslie Stahl was, not only to the president, but to the vice president. I mean, trying to beat up Vice President Pence and accuse him of insulting the legacy of 60 Minutes was quite a thing to behold. To hear her say she's upset because a politician, gave scripted answers. Oh, that's never happened before. So, I don't know. I mean, I think we're so numb right now, Ed, that I say this all the time. It's like if winged monkeys came and lifted us all away right now, we wouldn't be surprised. There's a line from one of my favorite movies of all time, National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, where Chevy Chase, as Clark Griswold, said, "If I woke up tomorrow, Cousin Eddie, with my head stapled to the carpet, I wouldn't be surprised." And that's how I feel. I could wake up tomorrow morning with my head stapled to the carpet, and I'd say, well, it's 2020. What's new?
Well, what's new is that in Michigan and Minnesota, we have 2 Senate races that no one thought would be close. John James is actually ahead in Michigan, according to the latest polling, and Jason is not too far behind Tina, right, Ed Morrissey?
Just 1 point, and that's a 10-point swing from just a couple of weeks ago in the survey, about a month ago in the Survey USA polling series. I mean, I'm actually very surprised that that it swung this far, this hard. But I also think it has something to do with pollsters tightening up their likely voter modeling. I'm guessing that that has a significant part in what we're seeing in Minnesota's polling.
Mike Gallagher, how do you fight off pollster doom? You know, they want the Republicans to give up. They want the Trump supporters to think it's hopeless. I keep seeing lots of reasons not to believe that in the data. How do you fight it off?
Well, the data suggests that Trump is going in the right direction, the Republicans are going in the right direction, and Biden and the Democrats are going in the wrong direction. I mean, Ed, I get tons of calls from Minnesota. I know you're getting them, Hugh, every morning. We're getting excited calls from Arizona, from Wisconsin. Could Minnesota turn red? I don't know. Mike Lindell, our buddy from MyPillow, is continuing to fight hard for Republicans, and he says there's going to be some great news. But, you know, I don't know that anybody gets impacted by the polls. We're all everybody is reminded of what happened in 2016, and frankly, Biden is underperforming where Hillary was at this exact same stage in 2016. And so there's lots of reason for cautious optimism on the Republican side. James gets a big endorsement today, major Detroit newspaper. He's got tons of momentum, but we're going to see. I mean, everything's up in the air because of as you said, Hugh, the 40-plus million votes that have already been mailed in. You know, it's just impossible to know. I just know that we're in for the ride of our country's life. I've never seen anything like it, and I just feel like it's going to get even more intense.
Quick question for you both. Kristen Welker is my friend. I've worked with her for 4 years. I've probably been on set with her 30 times. I think she's fair-minded. I know that the president doesn't. Do you guys expect her to come out of this untarnished? Ed Morrissey, 20 seconds to you and 30 to Mike.
No, I think that this is going to be, I think we're going to see a Chris Wallace type of thing here tonight. And she's got the pressure on, and there's going to be a ton of pressure from her colleagues to get tough on Trump. I think it's going to be just basically a replay.
Mike Gallagher?
I agree. It's a tough position for a moderator to be in this crazy year. I mean, you just have to. We've all sat behind a microphone for years. It's a tough place for her to be. But I'm with Ed. She has to go back to work. She can't possibly be tough on Joe Biden because the media is all in for Joe Biden, and that's what we're stuck with.
What in America? 2 medias, 2 candidates, in about 10 minutes to debate time. Don't go anywhere, America. Thank you, Mike Gallagher. Ed Morrissey and I will be back to toss it to the debate right after this.
Debate Preview 2020 continues now. And here, once again, is Hugh Hewitt.
Welcome back, America. Kim Strassel, the Wall Street Journal, writing in this evening's paper, Mr. Bobulinski's text show, he met with Joe Biden. That's an inconvenient fact, Ed Morrissey, but it also goes on to say the deal fell through on the Chinese end in the summer of 2017. Does it matter if no money ever changed hands?
Well, first off, I think that there's an allegation that some money actually did come through. I think there was $5 million that may have come through on this before the deal collapsed. I'm curious about the deal collapsing as well. Oh, different group. Different group
called Hudson West, not the Bobulinski group.
Yes, that's correct. Yes, you're right about that. It probably does make at least a bit of a difference. It also makes it's a key point too that if it happened in 2017, Joe Biden was out of office, but that doesn't remove the fact that the Chinese regime was building ties to Biden through his family. That there's an ability to be compromised by that, which we heard.
A willingness to deal.
A willingness to deal. And a track record and a willingness to deal covertly, which is what all of these texts are about, right? H is going to get 10 for the big guy and that sort of thing. That is a compromising position to be put in, even if you're a private citizen, once you start running for public office again.
So, Ed Morrissey, tonight, Donald Trump gets his first 2 minutes. Does China and Joe Biden and Bobulinski come up in the president's first 2 minutes?
Well, I would advise not to do that, but knowing Donald Trump, it's going to be the very first thing out of his mouth, I think.
And again, that's my prediction. Even though he should be talking to Pennsylvania and Wisconsin, he's going to be going at Joe Biden and going at him hard.
Should be talking about fracking, should be talking about jobs, should be talking about Operation Warp Speed. Those are the things he should be talking about, but he's going to be talking about Bobulinski.
Will Amy Coney Barrett's name come up tonight?
Yes, he's going to press him on the whole presidential commission idea on court packing. So Donald Trump will be bringing that up again, too.
I hope so. It's a terrible idea. It's a terrible idea. It's an unconstitutional nightmare. It's a terrible idea. And they should not be threatening the judiciary of the United States this way. But it requires patience to execute that. And we're running out of time. And do you feel that Donald Trump feels he's behind?
Yes, I think he thinks he's behind, and I think that's the reason why you're seeing him press on all cylinders, right? You're seeing him, you could sort of throw a kitchen sink strategy out in the last few days. I think he thinks he's behind, and I think he thinks he needs to get over the heads of the media in order to catch back up.
Well, he certainly has got over our heads tonight, and there's a new name in town, Bobulinski. Ed Morrissey, Bobulinski? I don't know. They could be related. We'll find out. We'll talk after the debate, America. It gets going in 2 minutes and 15 seconds. Be sure to join us back on the Salem Radio Network when it's all completed. We'll do post-debate breakdown with Ed Morrissey from Minnesota, Dennis Prager, and Kurt Schlichter right here on the Salem Radio Network. Thank you, Adam. Thank you, Dwayne, Harley, and Ben. We'll be right back after the two would-be presidents, one already, one wants to be, have finished their jousting. Stay tuned.